the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. Bob Joyce live from Gamble. Bobby V's hotline. Uconn Sports Network will be on the call with Debbie Fisk for what should be a historic night. And Bob, you've been calling Uconn games for decades. Talk about, amassing this many wins, a chance to be the all-time D1 head coach record holder in women or men's basketball, but what Geno Auriemma has meant to basketball as a whole the last 40 years.
Well, first of all, guys, thanks for having me on. Look, when Geno and Chris Daly got here 40 years ago, it's not like Uconn was even a Big East power. They were a team that was traditionally playing in the dreaded 8-9 game in the Big East tournament each and every year. And that was the first goal of this staff, was to get them out of that, playing in an old field house, sharing a telephone in an office with a track and field coach at the time. And they slowly but surely, from the ground up, built this into first a conference power, a surprise Final Four appearance in 91, the first kind of the unknowns getting to a Final Four. And then since 95, when they won their first national championship over the last 30 years, they just kept setting the bar higher and higher and higher for people to chase. And by the time we got done with 2016 and 4 straight national championships, it became almost unattainable for anyone to stay with them. But the game has grown because of their success. More teams are having success, which makes it harder to win national championships. And, look, after tonight, it's going to be, 40 seasons of coaching, 59 conference championships, 23 Final Fours, 11 national championships, and then when we get to somewhere between 8:30 and 9 o'clock tonight, 1,217 wins, more than any coach in the history of college basketball. So what they have done is just absolutely extraordinary, and when you consider it was from the ground up, that just even makes it more amazing.
I love his stories, too, of just talking to me about the size of crowds that they had. I remember when he was doing a show for us for like a room that holds maybe 50 people, and he was telling everybody in there, man, if we had this many people show up to a game of ours in the first year, it'd be 5 times as many people that showed up in the first year. But there's always, when I always say this too to people when they marvel at some programs that have just been doing it forever in college sports, like the Uconn women's basketball program. Once you get it rolling, once you get it started, all the best want to play for you, and it can become more easy. But you always have to have that cornerstone team, that cornerstone year, that team that really took it to another level beyond what it was even thought of to be. What was that team that really got the ball rolling for this program?
Well, I would say the one player that helped kind of make sure the team bought into what Geno and CD were selling was Chris Lamb. Then Carrie Bascom and Connecticut native Laura Lishnas showed up, and then the year after that, it was the class that had Megan and Debbie and Wendy Davis and a couple of others. And in their freshman year, they went from a team in the middle of the pack in the Big East to winning not only the regular season title, but the Big East tournament that particular year in Debbie and Meg's freshman year. And by the time that they were juniors, they were in the Final Four, for the first time ever. And it was a total shock to a lot of people, except them. I mean, even the players would tell you it was a surprise that they were there. They beat some good teams. They beat Clemson, I know, to get to the Final Four for the first time. But, yes, everybody talks about that first national championship team in 95. And, yes, that was a big deal and how that team was put together. But a good chunk of that group that came in the fall of 88 and took them to their first Final Four, that would be the team that set the foundation for what we have today, in 2024, and all the accomplishments that Geno and CD have put together with so many great players.
I mean, so many undefeated seasons. Going back and looking at the record, the last time he lost more than 3 games was 1992-93. They were 12-6. Still went to the NCAA tournament, but then the last time they lost 3 games was 2011-2012, 2-1-0. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, that they've been that dominant. I don't think they lost a game in the AAC conference 59 conference championships. Describe that. I mean, just the regular season greatness and trying to get games. Ben's always joking about where's the competition tour kind of thing. Really, they've had to raise the bar in women's basketball to get some good games.
Yeah, I mean, that started, I guess the first big opponent back in the 90s was getting Tennessee. I mean, they played Stanford a couple of times when Debbie played here, and they learned a lot from those games. But the first really, really big game was the January 95 game with Tennessee. And, as the Big East evolved, the original Big East, and it grew in the mid-2000s, I mean, the Big East was good back then. You had 7, 8, even 9 teams in a year that got to the NCAA tournament. So you were always battle-tested, but it always seemed that Uconn or Notre Dame or Louisville were the top 3 teams in the Big East, and it was the middle of the pack. Those two, Notre Dame, Louisville, and then Uconn kind of was at their own for a while. But then Notre Dame became great when Skylar Diggins showed up, and the rivalry with that over the 4-year period that she was here in the decade. I mean, as I've said before, ESPN could do a series on that rivalry alone for that 10 years, like they did, like HBO did with Michigan and Ohio State in football when Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler were the head coaches.
Good idea, actually.
But when you got to the American for 1 year, Rutgers, and I forgot Rutgers too in the old Big East, they were really good for a number of years. But then you get to the American, but you still, the American was not, non-competitive for the most part. I mean, USF gave them some battles once in a long while, and I think Tulane did once after they got to the 100th win, just because of the emotion let down. But look, Geno is not afraid to schedule good non-conference opposition to this day. And it started in January of 95 with Tennessee, and it's never stopped. I mean, South Carolina is still on the schedule. Notre Dame is still on the schedule, even though they're not conference foes anymore. You might see some ACC teams like Duke or North Carolina on the schedule in past years, the traditional ACC teams like I'm talking about, not what the new ones look like. They're still playing Louisville. So, and they play Texas in a home and home. They once in a while will play Maryland in a home and home. So, that's the thing about UConn. Some years schools want to play them, like now, because the playing field is leveled out. But when Stewie and Tuck and Mariah were all here, I don't think teams really wanted to play UConn because they knew things weren't going to go well against the Huskies. But they could just continue to schedule very well in the non-conference. They're going to the Bahamas where they could play an Ole Miss team next Wednesday in the championship game of their 4-team pod. It's too bad that Oregon State isn't the same team they were a year ago, but they basically lost everyone once they were left out of the expansion and the breakup of the Pac-12. But look, they still have a fantastic schedule. They still play Louisville and Brooklyn this year. We go to South Bend the second week of December. Iowa State's a very good team out of the Big 12. We'll see them at Mohegan. And then the two February games against Tennessee and South Carolina. So the thought is, hey, we're not afraid to play anyone that's been in place pretty much ever since they got there, and it's just special what they've been able to do and have all the success that they've had.
Emily Adams from the Hartford Courant put out an article with the title "Star-Studded Uconn Women's Basketball Alumni Roster to Attend at Geno Auriemma's 40th Anniversary Celebration." I'm expecting a very big amount of WNBA past players, Olympic gold medalists, basketball Hall of Famers. Give us insight. I know it's couple hours before the game. By the way, Bob Joyce, Uconn Sports Network, pregame at 6:30, tip-off at 7, Uconn women taking on Fairleigh Dickinson. But do you have a alumni list in front of you? Do you know who's going to be there tonight to take in this game?
I printed one out for you, Ben.
You did?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. There are 60. Well, let's see here. There are 63 on this list. But if you include Jamel, and yet, even though Tanya didn't play, well, Morgan Valley's on the coaching staff, so that's 2 more right there. And Tanya's been coaching here, other than her stint at Temple. She's been coaching here forever. So add 3 more to that list, whether they played or just simply coached here. But there are some big names. Of course, my broadcast partner and Carrie Bascom are here. Little Miss Celtics championship ring, Ashley Battle, was at practice today showing the bling off, so she'll be here. Beautiful. Sue Bird will be here. Nafisa Collier will be here. Let's go down the list. Debbie's teammate, Wendy Davis, will be here. Stephanie Dolson. Aaliyah Edwards is here. Kelly Ferris, the 2013 team. Bria Hartley, Tiffany Hayes, Asia Jones, who played on the 2002 team. Another one of Debbie's teammates, Laura Listnish, Rebecca Lobo, Renee Montgomery. The great Maya Moore will be here tonight. Kia Nurse. Let's see. Jen Rosati, of course, is showing up tonight. Let's turn the page here. Who we got here? Kelly Schumacher, who still has the championship game record for blocks in the 2000 final with 9, is showing up. Kia Stokes, or Azare Stevens. Some kid named Tarazi. I heard she was pretty good here.
Awesome.
Mel Thomas will be here. One of the original players on Geno's team, first team, who still works in Geno's office. Peggy Myers is here tonight. Avina Westbrook is showing up tonight. Rita Williams, who played from 95 to 98. So, yeah, you've got a great mix of early days, late days here at UConn. It's just a well-rounded group. Obviously, there are some big names that won't be here. I would imagine there's going to be some video presentations during the pregame and the postgame tonight, but it's just going to be a celebration of 40 amazing years for this amazing duo. And yes, they've won a few natties along the way, and, they've produced some of the greatest players that we've ever seen in the women's game. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight.
Bob, I was saying this before you came on. 100% graduation rate. He's big on, a lot of his discussions are about building better humans, sending these girls out into the world to do something good. I mean, that's above all else, the championships, the winning, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, these are wonderful women that they recruit here and then send them out there. They go on to be coaches and whatnot. But I think that's also a part of this record.
Yeah, I mean, some players that you never thought they'd be coaches are doing just that. I can think of Maria Conlon off the top of my head. She's now the coach of the women's team at WestConn. What Carla Berube has done in her times not only at Tufts, but now what she's doing at Princeton. Wendy Davis is coaching at Trinity College over in Hartford. There are some people that you never would have expected. Even Jen Rosati, at a very early age, starting at the University of Hartford, right? And she started her career very young at Hartford when Pat Meisner-McNett, who was an administrator here at UConn when the Huskies were winning their first national championships, hired her at Hartford. But, so many. And the great thing that I keep hearing from coaches' shows, from alums that I've talked to, it's not only the getting into the degree, and as you so said, Rob, not only just from a coaching aspect, for just preparing for life aspects. A lot of the things that more Chris than Geno, but Geno too, all the life lessons, all the detail that Chris put into making sure these young ladies were ready, and how they acted and how they, showed up for games and practices, how you dress. Even the smallest detail, they were able to do that. And you see the payoff when these young ladies who leave college, they become mature women, successful in the business world, successful in the broadcast world, successful in the coaching world, wherever they go. They've always been successful, and they can always come back here and bounce things off of the two coaches. So it's an amazing, amazing list of people and young ladies that have really done well for themselves in life. And probably the best story would probably be Maya Moore and what she did, leaving the game early to help a young man wrongly accused get out of prison, and ends up marrying the young man and becomes a mom. But so many great stories. Heck, Meg's a great story. She played for Geno, she coached with Geno, and then other than Carl Adamick, I think she's been around Geno probably longer than anyone else in some way, shape, or form. So great stories all over, and we're going to see a lot of them tonight.
And there's a basketball game going on, by the way. UConn Sports Network, Bob Joyce, 6:30 with the pregame, 7 o'clock tip. Fairleigh Dickinson in the house. Give us a quick Fairleigh Dickinson scouting report if it matters. I know Paige is going to be balling out with all those superstars. AZ Fudd coming back. Who? Tell us what you know about that. How long will she play? Give us a quick synopsis on what's going to happen on the court.
Well, I've not talked to Geno yet about that, but my guess is she'll be slowly blended into the lineup. She'll get some playing time. I would think the goal, not right away. She's not going to go out and play 20 minutes tonight, but I would think, she'll get 10, 15 minutes in the game, you would think. The thing that Geno talked about over the last week, he said that she wasn't going to be ready to play at North Carolina, but she's close. Talking with him on the coach's show, the biggest thing was getting her back into game condition shape, being able to withstand the up and down all the time, just the constant movement, just getting her breathing right and all that sort of thing, conditioning. But she's been great. Her rehab has been outstanding. As far as Fairleigh Dickinson goes, they started 4-0, lost to Syracuse Sunday, but it's the first time in 30 years that they started with a 4-0 record. They have a freshman from Pennsylvania named Ava Renninger, who is off to a fabulous start shooting the three, averaging 14 points per game. They have a 6'2 junior out of New Zealand named Lily Park, who's averaging 11 points, 4 rebounds per game. And they're favored to win the NEC. They've won some close games, beating American, Mount St. Mary's, and Bucknell in some of those close games early. But look, UConn takes care of their business, plays well. They should be fine. And you want them to have a good outing tonight, not only because of everything that's happening here tonight, but like the guys, you don't want a sloppy game before you go to the Bahamas and play 2 games down there. You want to have a good feeling and get AZ back into the mix, and they should be fine. But tonight should be a win for the Huskies and a big celebration afterwards.
Bob Joyce, Debbie Fisk on the call. I know you guys will be great. Starts at 6:30 with the pregame. Have fun tonight with all the festivities, man.
Yeah.
We'll be at home watching.
Yeah, tell all my friends I said hi.
Yep.
I will, and as we've bid you adieu here, look around Gamble. It is a sea of red. Everybody's got red T-shirts to wear tonight.
Right. Awesome.
It's the Ruby anniversary, so if you're coming to the game, wear red. If not, you got red T-shirts sitting waiting for you at your chair.
There you go. Thank you so much, Mr. Joyce. Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Bob Joyce from Gamble. We'll be right back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. We got some dibbles and bits for you next from North.